Bed bugs are living inside your mattress right now, and the exterminator, who charged your neighbor $2,000 last month, used something that cost $2 at your local hardware store to kill every single one of them. Diatomaceous earth, a fine white powder made from fossilized algae that has been sitting on shelves in garden centers and pet supply stores across America for decades. $2, maybe $3 if you buy the good stuff. And the pest control industry, a $12 billion machine operating in every city and town in this country, has spent years making absolutely certain you never connected that powder to your bedbug problem. Because if you did, their most profitable service call disappears overnight. Professional bedbug extermination in the United States costs between $1,500 and $5,000 for a standard home treatment. Heat treatment, which is the premium option they push hardest, runs between $2,000 and $8,000 depending on your square footage. And follow-up visits, which they almost always schedule because one treatment rarely gets every egg, can add hundreds more on top of that for a $2 powder, for something you can apply yourself this afternoon. For a solution that works better, lasts longer, and leaves no toxic chemical residue in the bed where you sleep every night. They didn't hide this because it fails. They hid it because it works too well. Read that again slowly. They did not suppress this information because diatomaceous earth is ineffective against bedbugs. They buried it because it is devastatingly effective. It is completely non-toxic to humans and pets. It costs almost nothing. It cannot be patented. And it keeps working for months after a single application. There is no business model built on a $2 permanent solution. So instead of telling you, they built an industry around the assumption that you would never find out. This channel is where that assumption dies. Every video here is a piece of knowledge that a billion-dollar industry spent money and effort keeping away from you. Not through laws, not through outright fraud, through the far more effective tool of simply never telling you, while simultaneously flooding every search result in home improvement, show, and pest control advertisement with messaging designed to make you feel like you need a professional, a chemical, a service contract, an expert. You do not. You need the truth, and you need the $2 powder that has been sitting at your hardware store the entire time. If you want to stop wasting money on industry lies, subscribe and hit the bell. The vault opens regularly, and you need to be here when it does. Now let me take you back. 1934. A research station outside Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A team of agricultural entomologists working for the United States Department of Agriculture were trying to solve a problem that was destroying stored grain supplies across the southern states. Weevils, beetles, and other grain-destroying insects were infiltrating storage silos and contaminating millions of pounds of food. Chemical pesticides existed, but were toxic, expensive, and could not be used on food supplies without contamination risk. One researcher, a man named Dr. Cecil Person, who had spent his career studying naturally occurring minerals as pest deterrents, began testing diatomaceous earth as a grain protectant. The results were not subtle. Insects exposed to diatomaceous earth died within 48 hours. The mechanism was purely mechanical, not chemical, meaning insects could not develop resistance to it the way they develop resistance to chemical pesticides. It worked on every insect species tested. It was completely safe for humans. It cost almost nothing to produce. Dr. Person documented his findings in a federal agricultural report published in 1936 that is still accessible in university library archives today. Your grandmother already knew this. She used it every single day. Not necessarily on bed bugs, but she kept diatomaceous earth in her home as a matter of course. She dusted it around the baseboards. She put it in the back of cabinets. She used it in the garden. She knew it killed crawling insects, and she knew it was safe because she had watched it work her entire life without a single harmful effect on her family or her animals. That knowledge lived in households across America for generations. And then the modern pest control industry grew up around chemical solutions, around licensed applicators, around the legal and financial architecture that made you believe you needed their expertise. And your grandmother's powder got buried under 40 years of advertising. The pest control industry generates over $12 billion annually in the United States alone. Bedbug treatment is one of its fastest growing and most profitable segments because bedbug populations have exploded since the 1990s, when many of the chemical pesticides that previously kept them suppressed were banned due to toxicity concerns. The industry's response to the bedbug resurgence was not to point you toward the safe, cheap, non-toxic solution that had been documented since the 1930s. Their response was to develop increasingly expensive treatment protocols using chemical agents that bedbugs are rapidly developing resistance to, requiring follow-up treatments, requiring repeat service calls, requiring ongoing contracts. Because a problem that stays partially unsolved is worth infinitely more to them than a problem permanently fixed for $2. They cannot patent diatomaceous earth. It is a naturally occurring mineral. It has been in the public domain since before any of these companies existed. There is no proprietary formula, no trade secret, no branded version that performs meaningfully better than the generic $2 bag at your hardware store. So they simply pretend it does not exist as a bedbug solution. They train their sales teams to mention it only to dismiss it. They fund content that emphasizes its limitations while ignoring its profound strengths. And every year, you do not know this. You remain one bedbug infestation away from a $4,000 bill that was never necessary. At the molecular level, here is exactly what diatomaceous earth does to a bedbug, and once you understand this, you will never look at that $2 bag the same way again. Bedbugs, like all insects, have an exoskeleton. That exoskeleton is coated in a thin, waxy lipid layer. That lipid layer is everything to a bedbug. It is what keeps moisture inside their body. It is what regulates their internal hydration. Without it, they cannot survive. Diatomaceous earth is composed of microscopic fossilized algae called diatoms. Each individual diatom particle, invisible to the naked eye, has razor-sharp crystalline edges at the microscopic scale. When a bedbug walks through diatomaceous earth, those microscopic edges physically abrade and pierce the waxy lipid coating on the exoskeleton. Not chemically, not toxically, mechanically, like walking across a field of microscopic broken glass. Once that lipid layer is compromised, the bedbug begins losing moisture rapidly. It cannot rehydrate. It cannot repair the damage. Its internal systems begin shutting down from dehydration. Within 24 to 72 hours of contact, the bedbug is dead, permanently. And here is the part the industry truly cannot stand. Because this mechanism is purely physical and not chemical, bedbugs cannot develop genetic resistance to it. Chemical pesticides work by disrupting specific biological pathways, and insects can evolve resistance to those pathways over generations. They cannot evolve resistance to being physically shredded at the molecular level. Diatomaceous earth works on the first bedbug, and it works exactly the same way on every bedbug forever. That is not a sales pitch. That is basic materials science. The pest control industry knows this. Their own researchers know this. The EPA knows this, which is why food-grade diatomaceous earth is approved for use in grain storage and is classified as generally recognized as safe for humans and animals. This information is not hidden in some obscure archive. It is in federal databases, in university entomology departments, in agricultural extension office publications. It is everywhere, except in the conversation your exterminator has with you when he is writing up a $3,000 heat treatment quote on his company iPad. The anger you are feeling right now is appropriate, because this is not an accident. This is not an oversight. This is a $12 billion industry making a calculated decision that your ignorance is more valuable than your relief. Every family that tears apart their home in panic, every person who throws away furniture they did not need to throw away, every renter who loses their security deposit over a bedbug infestation that a $2 powder could have handled, is a revenue opportunity that this industry has deliberately protected by keeping this knowledge buried. If you have made it this far, you already know more than 99% of homeowners in America. So here is exactly what you're going to do, step by step, tonight if necessary. First, buy food-grade diatomaceous earth. This is critical. There are two types available, food-grade and pool-grade. Pool-grade diatomaceous earth has been heat-treated and chemically altered for use in pool filtration systems. It is not safe for indoor use and will not work the same way for pest control. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is what you need. It is available at hardware stores, garden centers, pet supply stores, and online. A standard 1-pound bag costs between $2 and $4 and is more than enough to treat an average bedroom completely. Second, strip your bed entirely. Remove all sheets, pillowcases, mattress covers, and pillows. Wash everything in hot water, minimum 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and dry on the highest heat setting for at least 30 minutes. This kills any live bugs and eggs on your bedding directly. Third, apply diatomaceous earth to your mattress. Use a fine applicator brush or a small powder duster, available for $1 or $2 at any hardware store, to apply a thin, visible layer of diatomaceous earth across the entire mattress surface. Top, bottom, and all 4 sides. You want a light dusting, not a thick pile. Thin and even is the goal. The bugs walk through it. They do not need to be buried in it. Fourth, treat the bed frame completely. Apply diatomaceous earth into every joint, every crack, every screw hole, and every hollow section of your bed frame. Bed bugs shelter in these areas during daylight hours and come out to feed at night. Coating these harborage points is essential. Do not skip this step. This is where the majority of the active infestation lives. Fifth, treat the perimeter of the room. Apply a thin line of diatomaceous earth along every baseboard in the room, around the base of every piece of furniture, and across any cracks where the floor meets the wall. Bed bugs travel across floors to reach sleeping hosts. This perimeter treatment creates a barrier they cannot cross without lethal contact. Sixth, leave it in place. Do not vacuum it up after a day or two. Leave the diatomaceous earth undisturbed for a minimum of 7 to 10 days. This ensures that any eggs that hatch during that period produce nymphs that immediately contact the powder before they can reach maturity and reproduce. After 10 days, vacuum thoroughly, reapply a fresh layer, and repeat the perimeter treatment. A second application, 2 weeks after the first, ensures you have addressed the full egg-to-adult life cycle. That is the entire protocol. $2. Your own hands, 1 afternoon. And a bedbug problem that the industry told you required a professional is handled permanently. Now, I need one thing from you. Find one person in your life who is dealing with this right now. A family member, a neighbor, a friend. Send them this video before they spend money they do not have to spend. Every share keeps alive what the industry tried to erase. This knowledge belongs to everyone, and the only way it survives is if people like you refuse to let it disappear again. The next secret opens soon, and it will hit even harder than this one.